Dan talked about how this NBA Finals, and if it's the Pacers and the Thunder, it's not going to rate well. There's just no way to tell you otherwise. And there's another side to the ratings. I want to get to that in a second. But that this will be the worst NBA champion in the last 25 years. And when I heard him say that, look, don't get me wrong. There's part of me is like, there's nothing wrong, right? But then I started to think of all the previous NBA Finals participants. And I realized that, well, a couple things. First, I went back and looked at all the NBA Finals, NBA champions. And there's not a lot of them that don't have a bona fide superstar. Last year's the Boston Celtics. Jaylen Brown was the MVP. Jason Tatum's not a bona fide superstar, but a star. Year before that was the Denver Nuggets. Nikola Jokic, I think, became a superstar with that run. Year before that, the Golden State Warriors, Steph Curry. Year before that, Milwaukee Bucks, Giannis Antetokounmpo. Year before that, LA Lakers, LeBron James. Year before that, Toronto Raptors, Kawhi Leonard. Golden State, Cleveland, Golden State. San Antonio had Kawhi Leonard. The Heat, the Mavericks, the Lakers, the Celtics. That was Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett. San Antonio beat Cleveland. That was when LeBron James took an upstart Cavs team, probably past the threshold of their actual talent level. And that San Antonio team obviously had not just Tim Duncan, but Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili. So you go back in time and you're like, man, when was the last time we had a mostly homegrown young team with an up-and-coming star? And I actually think that was the Golden State Warriors, Steph Curry's first title run. I think that's what this team most looks like recently. And you're like, no way. Now, what the difference in that team and this team, is that the Golden State Warriors, though they beat LeBron James in the finals. And if you take down LeBron James in the finals, it's seen as a greater championship than taking down Tyrese Halliburton in the finals. Right? That's reasonable. Should be pointed out that Kyrie Irving was on that team, but hurt his knee, broke his kneecap in Game 1, a game in which the Cavs forced overtime in. So it wasn't like they were playing a fully loaded Cleveland team like the one that beat them the next year when they're up 3-1. But if you look at that team, or if you look at Michael Jordan's first NBA championship team, you might come to an agreement with me. And that's that this team, the Oklahoma City Thunder, most replicate the first Warriors championship team and the first Chicago Bulls championship team. The difference, I would say, with Golden State is they beat LeBron, albeit Kyrie was hurt. And Steph Curry was already a household name, some because of his play in the NBA, but mostly because of his play in the NCAA tournament and because he's Del Curry's son. And again, think about it right now, reasonably. Okay? When the Golden State Warriors first won an NBA championship, Steph Curry had not yet been an MVP. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has. Look at the surrounding pieces. Jalen Williams. Well, Jalen Williams is an up-and-coming second-best player on a great team. That Warriors team, the second-best player, was Klay Thompson, who was an up-and-coming young player on a soon-to-be championship team. Now, the finals MVP was Andre Iguodala, who is a former All-Star, who they added to a homegrown roster. The starting center was Andrew Bogut, a former All-Star, who was added to a homegrown roster, part of the trade that ended up really changing their trajectory. So you don't have those two, but you do have the addition of Hartenstein, okay, who's a center who does a lot of little things and starts for them, and then they kind of downshift to going small, much the way the Warriors downshift to going small. Though Draymond and Chet Holmgren, their skill sets, their size, everything about them is polar opposite, still, Draymond's first title, where he did so many things because of his versatility, there's some similarities there in terms of Chet, right? Chet, obviously a much higher draft pick, but can handle the ball, can shoot it, although doesn't shoot it a ton now, defends the rim, saved a game really with a block shot going back to game 4. I don't think it's that far off. Heck, you go back even further to when the Bulls first won their title in 1991. Nobody points out, I will today, that 1991 Lakers team that played in the finals wasn't very good. Kareem had retired. The Lakers were not the same. It was a young Vlade Divac. It wasn't coached by Pat Riley. And the Bulls, though Jordan was a superstar, he was the guy who had never won in the playoffs. Couldn't get past the Pistons. Finally do get to the finals. But what was his surrounding cast like? Scottie Pippen was not yet a superstar or a star. He was up and coming. Horace Grant was kind of similar to Chet Holmgren, where you thought he was really good and he was really young. And for Horace, unbelievable defensively in terms of ability to guard different positions. And they, too, brought in a center from elsewhere in a medical Bill Cartwright. John Paxson was their point guard. He was a great shooter. You know, it was a young and up-and-coming team that had yet to win a title, that had not gotten to the finals before, and they ended up beating the Lakers, I think, 4-1, and that set in place the progress of 3 straight NBA titles. Now, I don't know if Oklahoma City can win 3 straight NBA titles, but I do know that we're diminishing this team because they have yet to win one. When they have an NBA MVP on it, they have guys that are respected. They just don't have guys that are household names because they haven't won the playoffs yet, and now they're winning in the playoffs, and we're like, yeah, you got to win a couple times till you prove it to us. Maybe. This one feels different than anything over the past 20 years, maybe those first Warriors team. Like, can we agree that he hasn't had the impact of a Steph Curry, perception-wise? But I do think that he's going to have an impact on the NBA because the way in which he accumulates free throws and takes fouls and the way they play is going to be replicated. Already has been replicated. Playing with pace and space, getting the ball to him in isolation. And look, he's a great mid-range scorer as well, which most of the league has gone away from with a couple exceptions. I actually think that SGA is a breakthrough player, and I think that this is the first team, probably since the last Thunder Finals team, to benefit so greatly from trading away their aging superstars or guys that didn't want to be there anymore, and then able to use that to not just draft great players and great talent, but put together great teams that now get to a second NBA Finals. I don't know if the era of super team is over or if this is just a one-year thing. I do know there are new rules in place which are meant to kill dynasties but also meant to keep teams together. So if they can find a way to keep this group together, which no one has found a way to do, including the Thunder, right? Last time they went to the finals, James Harden played terribly. Plus, apparently he was going out all the time. He won a bigger contract. They didn't give it to him. They trade him away. And though they still had success afterwards, they never got back to an NBA Finals. But with all the movement, they've been able to stay relevant and stay loaded up, and now they have draft picks to keep them right there in the mix. I'm fascinated by this team. I'm trying to figure out if we've seen this before with the Bulls or with the Warriors, or if this is an outlier, or if this is the way in which you build teams in the future. You know, I've done a ton of radio and TV in Oklahoma City, and I can remember you go back 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago, hey, why don't we go get this guy or that guy? Because they didn't want to come to Oklahoma City. It's a place where guys like Alex Caruso love it because they're just about winning and the right things, and you don't need the flash. Hartenstein, same thing, but going out and getting the big name free agent just has never worked for Oklahoma City, so they got to build from within and then smartly add pieces to it. I watch this team play, and I think, I don't want to get caught up in being a prisoner of the moment. I understand times change, and I realize that, other teams in the NBA I would perceive are going to get better. But again, ask yourself now, if for the last 2 seasons they've been the best team in the West with the exception of one series against Dallas, the Lakers, no matter what you think, and I love Luka, and LeBron's an all-time great, having Luka and LeBron on the floor at the same time, very unlikely to be able to stop anybody. And if you've learned anything about the NBA playoffs, you got to be able to stop somebody if you want to win it. Are the Clippers going to be better? Are the Warriors going to be better? Are the are the Nuggets going to be better? Are the Wolves going to be better? Are the Mavericks going to be better? And the answer is very, very likely to be no. Right? If we agree that the Thunder are on an upward trajectory, right? Chet is going to get better. Jalen Williams is going to get better. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander continues to get better and progress every year. They're not yet to the peak. They're not yet to 30 years old, 31, 32 years old, where athletically they start to kind of decline a little bit, even if your brain is on fire. They still have draft picks. They still have the ability to get better, and other teams, whether or not they've topped out or their best players are aged out, the very strong likelihood is this is a team that looks like the Warriors the first time they won a title. This is a team that looks like the Bulls the first time they won a title. More so than just an outlier team. That's what it looks like to me. So I was thinking about what Dan Byer said about how this is the worst champion in the last 25 years. And what we may be saying, and I'm cautious of it because we do it with every time there's a team in a championship series or a championship game, or if they win one and they're young, it's beginning of a dynasty. And it very, very rarely, if ever, happens when we expect it to happen, which is all the more reason for it to expect to happen with this one.